Next up on our list of businesses, business-to-business companies, is Metrofile. Also a very interesting corporate track record. It had a long-standing listing. It had a spectacular flame-out, Icarus-like, in the dot-com bubble burnout of 2000 and 2001, where, having flown very high in its previous incarnation, MGX, the Metrofile business was the core, and that was what was left. They continued to operate thoroughly, carefully, and profitably, and have brought this business back into the mainstream. Metrofile, I think everyone will be familiar with the core brand, and the core business is all about information and records management services. It is principally about hauling off the paperwork that you're required to keep in businesses for a certain period related to tax, FICA, and all that sort of stuff. But they are also in information security, scanning, electronic data retention, all of that sort of stuff. Market cap 1.8 billion rand. Price to earnings ratio nice and modest at 12.9. Dividend yield 3.86. Lance, over to you.
So it's a very solid company. It's really the leader in document management in South Africa. Has had really troubled past, and it virtually came out of bankruptcy.
Yeah.
And as you say, in the old MGX vehicle, which was some of, like the other ones we've been talking about, cobbled together a whole lot of assets, but Metrofile was always the core of that business, and they changed the name subsequently from MGX to Metrofile. So really delivering on that, and the business is a really solid business. How much more growth can it come out of it? I'm not sure. They have got quite a nice Africa growth story. I don't know how big that is relative to their South African operations.
I think they're moving into Zambia, and they've also got a business in Dubai.
So that's nice to see some African expansion. The performance of the share has been a bit disappointing over the last year, I would say.
Well, there's the chart there now. So a nice recovery from 1 rand all the way up to 480, but then going a bit sideways in the last 18 months.
Yeah, so the market kind of maybe reflecting what I'm saying is that has the growth opportunities run out. Digital, obviously, and the digitization in general as a trend is obviously not great for this business maybe in the medium to long term, although they have that ability, but they're not going to have that mass warehouse need so much. So maybe a reflection, there's this term sunset industry. Is this a sunset industry? And I think there's a lot of paper around the world still. So it will continue to be, but the growth is, I think, difficult. Africa is a bit exciting. The reasonable valuation and not a bad dividend yield, so not too demanding. Because
they upped the dividend policy. They've gotten the debt under control after many years of onerously kind of pecking away at the debt burden that was saddled on them in the old days.
Yes, exactly.
The dividend policy coming up. So as you say, look, as far as the new business is concerned, they do point out that they are in document retention, scanning, and those kinds of software. And they do also provide disaster recovery backup sites for businesses that have the need to be able to relocate in the event that they have a fire at the major premises and all of that sort of stuff. And once you've got a client relationship and you can add bolt-on services, and then your point about how even though we know we're going towards a more digital document retention strategy, well, what does that actually mean in practice? There's still a lot of paper. I'm sort of sensing the same thing, because companies that have an untrammeled, unrestricted growth trajectory forever are those that the market likes. Whenever there's a sense, as you say, that there's a bit of a question mark, then the valuations start to take a bit of a turn. Yeah,
so I think this is a solid business. It's a good business. I think its growth prospects are maybe a little bit muted. See what they can do in Africa as a potential, but it's reasonably valued with not great growth prospects, maybe in summary.
Hot or not?
Not.
Okay, I'm going to lean towards hot, just because I like the dividend policy being jacked up. I think Graham Wackrell and his colleagues have done a super job, and I think that they're probably going to still do well while we're in this environment. And I don't think the sunset is going to be this decade. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and go with hot.